doing, everybody? This is Splash of Gas with Dave Weichert, a NASCAR podcast. What a fun, wild weekend of racing in Mexico City as NASCAR makes their return to Autódromo Hermanos Rodríguez. Cup Series and Xfinity would be in action there. That wasn't the weekend's only racing, as ARCA Series would be in action up north at the short track of Berlin Raceway in Michigan. Storylines, ARCA: can Brandon Butterbean Queen get his fourth win of the season, or can someone else knock him off? Xfinity: with NASCAR allowing 40 cars in this race, there will be plenty of action. Could a full-time Cup driver of Daniel Suárez, Christopher Bell, or Ty Gibbs steal the trophy? Or could an Xfinity driver of Connor Zilisch, Sam Mayer, take the win? Cup Series: all eyes will be on New Zealand driver and road course ace Shane Van Gisbergen. The hometown crowd will be coming out in droves to see the only current Mexican-born Cup driver, Daniel Suárez. Who will come out on top? Plus, Denny Hamlin will be sitting this one out with the oncoming birth of his son, New Jersey's own Ryan Truex, brother of 2017 Cup Series champion Martin Truex Jr. Ryan will be piloting the number 11 in place of Hamlin. Interviews with Cup Series driver Cole Custer and ARCA winner from Berlin, Treyten Lapcevich. Fast Davies bets, discussions with Dave, predictions for Pocono and Elko. Plus, as we gear up for Pocono, Splash of Gas will be there throughout the weekend. We'll have a few special segments on that, and so much more on this episode of Splash of Gas. As always, we're sponsored by Magical Travel with Dave, aka Disney Dave Weichert, my father. If you're from New Jersey and planning on going there for Teachers Convention, it's time to reach out to Disney Dave. You can reach him at disneydavw@verizon.net. Please make sure you follow all the Splash of Gas social medias for midweek updates. Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube are all Splash of Gas with Dave Weichert. Now for the ARCA recap from Berlin. The ARCA Series would be in action up in Michigan at the 7th 16th mile track at Berlin Raceway. There is no wall across the backstretch. Who would be ready to risk it all? Max Reeves would be in the Joe Gibbs 18. Treyten Lapcevich would be in the 70 for Nitro Motorsports. Full-time ARCA drivers of Brendan Queen, Lawless Allen, Isabella Robusto, and the rest of the field would be ready to duel at the short track. After qualifying, Lapcevich would be the fastest and win the pole. He would be up to the lead early. The first of the planned cautions would fly on lap 74, which at this point was the fourth yellow of the race. They would restart with 117 laps to go. Lapcevich gets the jump and leads again. After the second planned caution, Lapcevich and Reeves would restart with 69 laps to go. Again, Treyten would be strong in the 70 and take the lead. Another yellow on lap 137 for Brad Smith going around. 56 to go, Lapcevich again would be untouchable on the restarts and take the lead. Another quick yellow would restart the pack with 48 to go. Again, Treyten Lapcevich to the lead. 30 to go, and he would have over a 2-second lead on Max Reeves in second. 5 to go, and it would be all Lapcevich. Since they unloaded that 70, he leads from the pole and every single lap to win Saturday night in Berlin, getting his first win at the ARCA level. Congratulations to Nitro Motorsports and Treyten Lapcevich. Job well done. Now for trivia time. This week's question is, who won at Autódromo Hermanos Rodríguez the first time NASCAR went there in 2005 for an Xfinity race? Answer coming at the end. Now for the Xfinity recap. During the qualifying, we would see Christian Eckes go spinning and heartbreak for Daniel Suárez in the 9 as he goes into the wall and has heavy damage to the nose of that car, having to go to a backup car. How will that affect Suárez as he tries to win for the hometown crowd? Ty Gibbs would be the fastest in practice, followed by Connor Zilisch. Qualifying would be won by Zilisch, and Gibbs would be behind him, making up the front row. Once the green flag would drop, Gibbs and Zilisch would be door-to-door going through the first turn, before Gibbs would take control. Then at the end of the first lap, on turn 13, Zilisch would pass Gibbs, but going into turn 3 on the second lap, Gibbs would tap Zilisch, sending him off the track. Ty would take control of the lead, followed by Christopher Bell, and angry Zilisch would be in fourth. The first yellow would fly on the third lap for Sam Mayer sliding into the corner. Gibbs and Bell on the restart. Gibbs would clear for the lead. Zilisch would get past Christopher Bell for second and be on the hunt for Ty Gibbs at the front. 8 to go in stage 1. Zilisch would be on the bumper of Ty. On the same lap, Christopher Bell in third would go spinning, losing all of his track position as the race stays green. 6 to go in stage 1. Justin Allgaier would have a transmission issue and have to pit. As expected on the road courses, many would pit towards the end of the first stage for track position for the second stage. Leaders of Gibbs and Zilisch would come down pit road with 2 to go in the stage right before the pit road closes. Carson Capole would stay out and win the first stage, followed by Taylor Gray and Jesse Love. Gibbs and Zilisch restart for the second stage. Zilisch would get the jump, followed by Bell as Ty Gibbs fades to fourth. Daniel Suárez is up to the third position as the Mexican fans cheer. In the second half of stage 2, Ty Gibbs would work his way to the second spot. 3 laps to go in the second stage. Christopher Bell's car would be smoking, coming to the pits. He says to his crew chief that his engine was dead. Like the end of stage 1, Ty Gibbs and Connor Zilisch pit with 2 laps left in the second stage. Staying out, the 8 of Sammy Smith will go on to win stage 2, followed by Tanner Gray and Sheldon Creed. Zilisch and Gibbs restart for the third and final stage. Going into the first turn, they would be 3 wide. Zilisch will get contact from the 18 of William Sawalich. Daniel Suárez from the second row gets to the lead. The yellow would fly as Parker Redsloff goes hard into the wall. Daniel Suárez and Christian Eckes on the following restart. Suárez clears and gets to the lead. 7 laps to go. The yellow would fly when Jesse Love will get contact from Dean Thompson and go spinning into the wall. Suárez and Gray restart on the front row, followed by Austin Hill and Christian Eckes with 4 to go. Suárez and Gray would be racing hard with Daniel going on the grass briefly. Eventually, he clears Taylor and takes control of the lead. 2 to go, Suárez still up front as the Mexico City fans go wild for Suárez, followed by Gray and Eckes. The rest of the race would stay green, and Gray would not be able to catch Daniel. The hometown crowd would be delirious in celebration as Daniel Suárez crosses the finish line in first. Taylor Gray and Austin Hill would be second and third. It would be Viva El Daniel as he does a burnout for the crowd, breaking a piñata in celebration. After having to go to a backup car, Suárez is able to drive through the field and grab a win in his home country. Congratulations. Now for the Cup Series recap. The big show in Mexico City for the NASCAR Cup Series would be on Sunday afternoon. Austin Cindric and Noah Gragson would go off course during the practice session. Michael McDowell was the fastest in the first practice, and Todd Gilliland was atop of the charts in the second. After the qualifying on Saturday, Shane Van Gisbergen would show out and be on the pole, followed by Ryan Preece making up the front row. Once the green flag would drop, SVG would clear Preece early, but they wouldn't make it a lap as the yellow flag would fly for rain. Most of the field would pit during the yellow, electing for rain tires. The only 2 drivers that would stay out on slicks were Chris Buescher and Austin Cindric. The first drivers on the rain tires would be Ross Chastain and Van Gisbergen, making up the second row. Cindric and Buescher fall quickly as they slide on the slicks. Ty Gibbs jumps to the lead, followed by Chastain and SVG. Lap 6, Van Gisbergen passes Chastain for second. A lap later, the first yellow for incident would fly when Kyle Busch goes spinning, collecting Allmendinger, Haley, Larson, Gilliland, and Cindric. Ty Gibbs and Shane Van Gisbergen would be on the front row with 10 laps to go in the first stage. After exchanging the lead, SVG would clear for the lead with Gibbs hot on his bumper. Daniel Suárez would be up to fourth. SVG would put some time in between him and Gibbs. As expected, the leaders would pit towards the end of stage 1. Ryan Preece would stay out and win stage 1. Michael McDowell and Carson Hocevar would stay out on the wet tires and restart for the second stage. Gibbs would return to the lead, followed by SVG. Yellow would fly again for an incident, this time involving Ryan Truex and Carson Hocevar. Gibbs and Van Gisbergen would restart with 10 laps to go in the second stage. Gibbs would clear for the lead. SVG and Austin Cindric would be second and third. 5 laps to go in stage 2. Gibbs would have over a 1-second lead over Van Gisbergen. Christopher Bell would be in third. Ty Gibbs would pit with 3 laps to go in the second stage. SVG would take the lead. Van Gisbergen would stay out and go on to win stage 2, followed by Christopher Bell. The third and final stage would restart with 50 laps to go in Mexico City. After electing to stay out, SVG would be on the front row along Christopher Bell. The two would exchange the lead in the first several laps of stage 3. Shane would be leading. 36 laps to go, Van Gisbergen would pit from the lead. Ty Gibbs would return up front, followed by McDowell and Cindric. SVG would settle in the 19th. A lap later, the yellow would fly for a spinning Carson Hocevar. Ty Gibbs and most of the leaders would pit under this yellow. Van Gisbergen would return up front after pitting earlier in the stage. Shane and Christopher Bell would restart with 32 laps to go. Van Gisbergen would take back the lead. Alex Bowman would push his way to second with Bell in third. 20 to go. SVG would still be up front, having a 1.7 second lead over Bowman in second, followed by Bell and Elliott. 10 to go. SVG would have over a 6-second lead over Bell in second with Bowman in third. Carson Hocevar and Ricky Stenhouse Jr. make contact, collecting both. Could anyone catch Shane Van Gisbergen? 5 to go, SVG would be dominating and still hitting all of his marks. He would have over a whopping 12-second lead over Bell in second, followed by then Elliott and Bowman. Final lap, Shane would still be up front with over a 16-second lead over Bell. It would all stay green and there would be rugby balls punted Sunday in Mexico City as Van Gisbergen wins his second Cup Series race of his career. Congratulations to Trackhouse Racing. Now, a look back at the predictions we made for Berlin and Mexico. ARCA at Berlin Raceway went with Butterbean Queen. He finishes 4th. Xfinity Mexico City picked Ty Gibbs, who was back in the Xfinity seat. He brings it home 14th after leading early. Cup Series went with Shane. He finishes atop of the podium and wins the race. Now for yellow flag, green flag. ARCA Series, green. Nitro Motorsports and Treyten Lapcevich. They unload with a rocket ship and flat out dominate, winning the pole and leading every single lap, getting the first win for that organization, and of course, Lapcevich's first ARCA win as well. Xfinity Yellow. Christopher Bell was contending when his engine expired on him. Hate to see that for the Sam Hunt team that Bell was driving for this past Saturday. Xfinity Green, the Junior Motorsports team. They got Daniel Suárez's backup car ready after he wrecks the primary car in qualifying. Suárez goes down and burns it up on Saturday night after winning the race. Cup Series Yellow, Ty Gibbs. We were talking about him on the green flag a couple weeks ago, but a strategy call that didn't go his way puts the rocket ship that they have and that was leading laps on Sunday into a P11 finish, a tough pill to swallow for Gibbs. Green, Cup Series, SVG, the pressure was on him to win this race, and he wins by over 17 seconds. He showed out for sure and put to sleep the doubters on him and locks himself into the playoffs. Our first guest driver on the show is ARCA winner from this past Saturday at Berlin, Treyten Lapcevich. Here's what Treyten had to say. Next driver we bring on to Splash of Gas with Dave Weichert is someone we were just talking about in the ARCA recap. Berlin winner, Treyten Lapcevich. Welcome to the show again, Treyten, and congrats on the big win Saturday night.
Thank you. Glad to be here.
Yeah, of course. Before we dive into the action from Berlin, last time we spoke to you, it was before your ARCA debut in Phoenix earlier this season. You finished third there. Was announced last week that you'd be joining forces with Nitro Motorsports starting in Berlin. How has that process been working with that team and crew chief, Shannon Rush?
It was really smooth, honestly. It came together really late. But right when I got to the track there, I didn't really know many of them beforehand. I'd actually talked to Shannon a couple times, including at the Daytona test earlier in the year. But never really had worked with any of them before. And we got up to speed really quick. By the time practice was over, it had felt like I had been working with those guys for a long time. So, we obviously are a really great group of people, and they brought a really fast race car to the track.
Awesome. Thank you for touching on that. This was your second ARCA race. You dominated from the time you all unloaded until the checkered flag. Car was a rocket ship all weekend. Must have felt pretty good after winning the pole. Did your team make any adjustments going to the green flag?
We made a couple adjustments during practice just to get me a little bit more comfortable, but it really wasn't anything huge compared to where we started. And then we ended practice pretty good, but the big thing was trying to understand how the track was going to change later in the night when it cooled off a bit. It was a pretty warm day, and the race wasn't scheduled to roll off till around 7, so we figured the track might change a bit, and Shannon was really good at anticipating the changes that we needed to make. So we made it a couple little adjustments before qualifying. Again, just really minor things, honestly, and we knew that heading into the race that we had the 2 brakes, so we would have some time to work on the car too and get it a little better in race trim if we needed. But it was really great in qualifying, and then we fired off in the race, and the car was pretty much just as good as it had been all day long.
Got it. Before Phoenix, you were talking about being aggressive on the restarts. You were able to get the jump on every restart on Saturday night, en route to leading every lap. And against some of the top ARCA talent of Brandon Queen, LeVar Scott, and Max Reeves, how were you able to keep the 70 out front all night?
It was actually, the first, earlier in the race, I struggled a little bit more on restarts. The handling of the car, I was a little bit looser on entry. So it was kind of, I was having a tough time getting into turn 1 and defending that lead because there were 2 good lanes. The 18 car, when he got position on me on the outside, he could give me a pretty good run for my money there. I think that as the race went on, I progressively found that I could carry more speed into turn 1 and, take that position a lot quicker. As well, some of the adjustments that we made at the brakes just made the car a little bit more comfortable and allowed me to be a little bit more aggressive and, maintaining that top spot right away. We didn't want to put ourselves in a position where we relegated the lead at any point. Berlin is a really tough track to pass at because of that. Even if you're much better than the car in front of you, it's still hard to make those passes just because of how competitive the 2 lanes really are.
Got it. Thank you for going over the different lanes there. Appreciate that. Your first race was at the Mile of Phoenix. Must have felt pretty good getting back to a true short track in Berlin. You were mentioning the track and the tires before the qualifying. How did they treat you throughout Saturday night?
Yeah, it was, it was nice because a lot of the last year, for me in racing with the Cars Tour last year, and obviously the ARCA race at Phoenix, it's all been new tracks that I've been showing up to. I hadn't showed up to a familiar track like up until the end of last year in the Cars Tour season when we'd already been to those tracks earlier in the year. So it was nice going to Berlin because I've done a couple late model races there. So I had some familiarity with the track and the line because it is a kind of a unique track in how it's shaped. So that was definitely helpful. And then the tires. Really, we were just trying. Like I mentioned, we didn't want to relegate the lead at any points. So on the restarts, we would have to be a little bit more aggressive with our speed and push the pace up a little bit. And then after that, it was really just maintaining it. We didn't want to push the tires any more than we had to. Just to save them for later in the run, and especially that last 75 lap stint because those were going to be the tires we were going to be on for the rest of the race. So. I felt like the fall off wasn't too bad, and our car stayed pretty consistent over the long runs.
Gotcha. Thank you for touching on the tire wear. How are you going to build off this win and for the rest of the season?
Yeah, it's a little bit, it's kind of tough to say. Right now it's a little bit different circumstance for me as it has been in the last prior years. I don't have any certain plans for the rest of the season, and didn't have any certain plans coming into the season either. So really just trying to take any opportunity that I can get. I've been really lucky to have some amazing people supporting me in the bare knuckle fighting championship and Evram, and they always help out when they can, which is amazing, and I'm really thankful for that. So just trying to get any opportunity we can. Obviously winning helps. They say that winning fixes everything. In this case, it might not fix the position that I'm in to be able to be in a car full time, but it definitely helps. Just bring some more opportunities in, and maybe help us make our dollar go a little bit further.
Gotcha. Really appreciate you touching that and going all over the stuff in Berlin. Can't wait to watch you the next time you're in that ARCA seat. And, really hope to have you on before the end of the season again, Treyten.
Awesome. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, of course. We'll talk to you soon. Super cool to hear Treyten break down that race from last Saturday. Now for this week's edition of Discussions with Dave. Our first topic was Autódromo Hermanos Rodríguez a success? I say yes. Both Xfinity and Cup races were great, I thought. Those restarts with that long straightaway was super fun to watch on TV. The stadium aspect of the venue was really neat to see the drivers go through the S's there. The fans seemed all pumped up and the grandstands were packed. As a fan of the sport, it was exciting to see Daniel Suárez and the Mexican fans celebrate as he wins the Xfinity race on Saturday. Even though the dominance of Shane Van Gisbergen showed and the gap he won didn't take away from the race at all in my opinion, the circuit created some great battles and awesome racing. Many different places to make passes as we saw in both races. I say bring it back next year. Next topic on WDW, NASCAR having podium-style finishes in Mexico City, 1, 2, 3. If you're not first, you're last. Second place is the first loser. Typically sayings heard from hard-headed drivers and fans alike in NASCAR. There was a bit of a twist with the post-race celebrations for each Xfinity and Cup race in Mexico City. There would be a podium picture and celebration of the drivers that of course won, but the guys that finished second and third. When I first heard of this, I shrugged my shoulders and said to myself, I get it, the race is outside the US, F1 has raced on that circuit before, and they do this, plus in many different forms of motorsports, but I'm not sure if I like it. One driver who was optimistic on this that swayed my opinion of this was Michael McDowell. During the week, Michael McDowell said he grew up doing podium finishes and thinks it's a great idea for the sport as it brings limelight to the drivers that might have not won the race but had enough strong of a race to finish second or third. Next topic, SVG's flat-out dominance and standings upset with the win. Going into Mexico City, as we mentioned last episode, Shane was buried in the standings. But with a number of road courses upcoming before the regular season ends, SVG was really poised to get a win and grab his spot in this year's playoffs. We've said before on the show, really was expected for SVG to grab one of these road course or street course races that they have at the Cup level. So I wouldn't say it's a complete upset, but there's drivers at the bubble of the point standings right now. Ricky Stenhouse Jr., AJ Allmendinger, Alex Bowman. The win by Van Gisbergen is going to kick someone out of the playoffs. One of those bubble drivers that hasn't gotten the win when we get longer down the road, come to the last race of the regular season in Daytona. It's going to affect someone. Who will that be? There's a lot of races to figure that out still. But now locked into the playoffs, how far can Van Gisbergen make it? We will see. Next topic on discussions with Dave, Hocevar and Stenhouse. Yes, they hit each other again. In Stage 3, Carson Hocevar punts Ricky Stenhouse Jr. again during the race. Hocevar, a lap down, locks up his brakes and goes into the rear of Stenhouse, sending him spinning. The incident that we were talking about a couple weeks ago when Hocevar hits Stenhouse, ending his day. Luckily, this didn't really damage Ricky's car, but Stenhouse Jr. did lose valuable track position, and those, as we mentioned, Ricky is probably going to be one of those drivers on the points bubble. He's on it right now. And that's valuable points that Carson Hocevar is taking away by Ricky Stenhouse Jr. Post-race, Ricky got right out of his car, and before Carson could even get his helmet off, Ricky was in his face, and Ricky was honest with him. Ricky said, "I'm gonna wreck you. This is the second time." And Hocevar said, "I know, I messed up." I do appreciate the honesty from Carson, but as we were saying 2 episodes ago, it really doesn't look like he cares. He was a lap down. Yes, he should be racing his butt off. He's a Cup Series driver. But is that the best spot to really test your equipment? And now you're affecting other drivers? And it's the second time you hit Stenhouse Jr. You're going to pay the price now. And Carson's going to learn that lesson soon, I believe. And when that move comes, is it going to have playoff implications taken away from Hocevar? We'll find out. Last topic on discussions with Dave for this week, the in-season challenge. NASCAR is going March Madness style and having a bracket-style tournament where 32 drivers compete in head-to-head battles for 5 races for $1 million. Seeding is based off the best finishes in the final 3 races of the season on Amazon Prime. Those are Michigan, Mexico City, and Pocono. The 5 races put the 32 drivers in a bracket format with the higher finishing driver in each race advancing. 4 rounds, half of the drivers are eliminated each race until only 2 remain for the final race. Those tracks are Echo Park Speedway, formerly known as Atlanta, Chicago Street Race, Sonoma Raceway, Dover Speedway, and Indianapolis Motor Speedway. I'm still not 100% on how I exactly feel on the in-season challenge. I think it should create for some good racing and some good storylines. We will follow it throughout those 5 races as they start in Atlanta. This ends this episode's edition of Discussions with Dave. Now for NASCAR history time. Pocono throughout the years. August 4th, 1974. Richard Petty won Pocono's first Premier Cup Series race, beating out Buddy Baker by 18.5 seconds. The King led 152 of the 192 laps to victory in the rain-shortened event. Only 4 drivers of 35 were on the lead lap when the race was cut short. Petty won 10 races in 74 and went on to earn his 5th of his 7 championships. June 12, 1983, in a span of 371 days, Bobby Allison won 3 consecutive Cup Series races at the Tricky Triangle of Pocono. For the first time in 82, NASCAR visited Pocono twice in the same year, and Allison swept those races. He made it 3 in a row by winning again in 83 when he led 143 of the 200 laps and beat out Darrell Waltrip by 9.56 seconds. Allison never won another race at Pocono though. July 28th, 02, Steve Park's wreck on the first lap caused a 65-minute delay and showed why Dale Earnhardt Jr. has so many fans. Park, who was a teammate of Earnhardt Jr.'s at the time, made contact with Rusty Wallace and slid across the grass before tumbling into the guardrail. Jr., also involved in the wreck, quickly got out of his car and sprinted to help Park. They both walked out arm in arm. August 3rd, 2014. Earning his 3rd victory of the season, Dale Earnhardt Jr. swept the 2014 Cup Series races at Pocono by beating out Kevin Harvick to win the GoBowling.com 400. Just a few weeks earlier, Jr. had earned his first win in 29 starts at Pocono by besting Brad Keselowski by 0.439 seconds. July 23rd, 2023, tempers flared between numerous drivers at Pocono, including Denny Hamlin and Kyle Larson, as Hamlin secured a milestone 50th Cup Series win after contact late in the race with Larson. Hamlin's victory also moved him ahead of Jeff Gordon for most wins ever at the Tricky Triangle. Our second guest driver of the show that we bring on is current Cup Series driver Cole Custer. So excited to have Cole on the show. Here's what he had to say. Next guest we bring on to Splash of Gas with Dave Weigert is driver of the 41 Ford for Haas Factory Team, the NASCAR Cup Series, Cole Custer. Appreciate your time and thanks for joining the show, Cole.
Yeah, thanks for having me on.
Before we get into Mexico, you've been with a combination of Stewart Haas Racing and now Haas Factory Team for most of your career, winning your first Cup race with them at 2020 at Kentucky and Xfinity Championship 23. A lot of changes from the last few seasons with Stewart Haas race closing, transitioning to Haas Factory Team. How has it been going back to the Cup Series and working with crew chief Aaron Kramer?
Yeah, I think to start off the year, look, we want to get better. I don't feel like we're where we want to be. But I feel like getting an 8th place finish at Mexico, I think we're starting to bring faster and faster cars to the racetrack. So I think we're working in the right direction, and hopefully this second half of the season we're able to really hit our stride. Because, everybody's working so hard with the transition to one car and a lot of new tools, new alliance with RFK. So there's a lot of moving parts, but I feel like we're moving in the right direction. Just got to keep working at it.
Gotcha. Thank you for going over those changes. Diving into the road course of Mexico City, this was the first time the Cup Series was traveling to Autódromo Hermanos Rodríguez. There was uncertainty about the weather throughout the weekend. You were 25th and 24th in the 2 practice sessions and qualifying 26th. How were you and the car feeling prior to the green flag?
Yeah, I felt like we felt solid about it. I think qualifying, I probably could have gotten a little bit more out of the car. But I feel like, it was just a solid weekend overall. We had solid pace in the car. We had good strategy. I feel like I didn't make any big mistakes. The pit crew did good. So overall, we just had a really solid day, and we're able to get a good finish out of it. So hopefully we can keep knocking off some solid ones.
Heck yeah. With the weather early in the race, you were on both the slicks and the wet weather tires. As a fan, the wet weather tires seem to handle when the track is wet. But as soon as the track dries up, it seems like drivers are always rushing back to the slicks. How is the car handling on each of those?
Overall, it wasn't a huge handling difference, I would say. It's just, when it's wet and slick out, it's definitely less grip. So you're sliding around a lot more and have to manage the gas on the exit just so you don't spin the tires. So it's just really managing that. And then as it dries out, the rain tires definitely lose a lot of grip because they wear out so fast. So getting back to slicks gets you a lot more grip in the dry.
Okay, gotcha. Appreciate you touching on that. Mexico City is obviously a higher elevation compared to the tracks that you guys go to. Did you notice any of the differences with the handling in regards to that?
I feel like it was definitely a little different with the draft. You weren't able to pull up on somebody as easily on the straightaway as you usually would, just because the air is so thin. But other than that, I felt like everything was fairly normal.
Okay, cool. Appreciate that. On Sunday, you finished Stage 2 13th and take your last pit stop on lap 63. Your car looked strong throughout the day. In the end, you finished 8th, which is your best finish this season. How are you feeling come the checkered flag in Mexico City?
Yeah, it was a great day for our team. To finish 8th, get our first top 10 of the year, that was a huge step in the right direction. So I think we proved to ourselves that we can go out there and compete. We just have to go out there and do it consistently and keep working on our cars to get better and better. So we'll see here in Pocono what we can do. I feel like hopefully we can ride the momentum, though.
Gotcha. Yeah, going right into my next question. The road course last Sunday doesn't have any real similarities to the tricky triangle of Pocono. You've won twice there in the Xfinity car. Do you feel like you have some momentum going there for the Cup race on Sunday?
For sure. Whenever you get off a good run, you're always looking forward to the next week. So I think we definitely are moving the right direction. Everybody's in a good mood at the shop, and hopefully we can just go to Pocono and hit our stride.
Gotcha. Last question. Any goals and expectations for the rest of this season?
I think for us, it's just this halfway point. We want to see some steady improvement. I think going and trying to run in the top 20, top 15. And I think, if you can live in that area, eventually you're going to have shots to win with how tight the field is. So for us, it's just a matter of trying to get some improvement this second part of the year and start clicking off some good finishes.
Sounds good. Remember when watching the Xfinity race in 2019 when you and Reddick there with that pass at the turn 3 right at the end? That was awesome. So really hope you can get back in the top 10 again this weekend, and hope to see you at the track. We'll be rooting for you again.
Awesome. Thanks for having me on.
Yep. Thanks again, Cole. Have a good one.
All right. See you.
See ya.
Great to have Cole on the show. Super interesting to see the insight of a Cup driver. Now for the drivers to look out for ARCA Series as they go to Elko. After the short track of Berlin in Michigan, ARCA is again in action for back-to-back weekends. This time in Minnesota at the 3/8 of a mile asphalt track of Elko. After a 4th place finish in Berlin, Brandon Butterbean Queen, who made a name for himself on short tracks before ARCA, will be ready for Elko. Can he grab another win? Wallace Allen was 3rd in the Venturini car. Expect him to be contending again. Mr. Consistent LeVar Scott always seems to put it in the top 5. Can he get a top 3 in Elko? Max Reeves in the 18 Joe Gibbs ARCA car will be a contender as well. Now for the drivers to look out for, Pocono Truck Series. A needed off weekend. After a wild 3 overtime finish in Michigan, the truck drivers will be geared up for the Long Pond straightaway. The driver to look out for Truck Series are... First driver we talk about is current points leader and last year's winner of this race, Corey Heim. He dominated at Pocono last year, leading 55 of the 70 laps. Came in second in 2023 as well. Can Heim continue that? I sure think so. Grant Enfinger was second in Michigan. He was P2 to Heim last year at the Tricky Triangle. Can he break through? Chandler Smith is second in the points, and he won in Pocono in the trucks for Kyle Busch Motorsports back in 2022. Expect him to be fast when they unload. Smith's teammate Lane Riggs currently sits 6th in the standings. Can he get up to contend? Niche Motorsports has had success at Pocono in the past in the trucks. Caden Honeycutt was 3rd in Charlotte and 6th in Nashville. Can he put down another solid finish? Drivers to look out for Pocono Xfinity. We start off again with current points leader Justin Allgaier. Allgaier has 3 top 3 finishes at Pocono. Can he get his first win there? Cole Custer won the Xfinity race last year in the Haas Xfinity car. Sheldon Creed was 4th and teammate Sam Mayer was 10th. Both should have speed. Can they get up front? Austin Hill is 2nd in the standings. He won the race in 2023. He should be in the mix again. Chase Elliott will be in the Xfinity seat at Pocono. Expect him to be towards the front. Of his 3 career starts at Pocono, Sammy Smith has 2 top 10s. He should have speed in the Junior Motorsports 8. Drivers to look out for: Cup Series at Pocono. We haven't mentioned his name much this year since Daytona. Cole Custer has 2 Xfinity wins at Pocono, the most recently coming last year. Expect Cole to get up in the top 10. Can't forget the 11 here. Denny Hamlin has won 7 times at the Cup Series level at Pocono. Can he get his 8th? Ryan Blaney won last year when NASCAR came there. He also got his first win at the Cup level at Pocono. Can he nab his 2nd win of the season? William Byron was 4th there last year and 6 career top 10s at the Triangle. Should be in the mix come the 3rd stage. Kyle Busch has won 4 Cup races in the Pennsylvania Mountains. He qualified 2nd in Michigan. Can he bring it come the green flag? Now for the Pocono lookout. Super pumped to be going back to Pocono for the NASCAR Cup Series weekend. Since I was a little kid, been vacationing and going to the track there. Here are some of my tips and tricks if you are attending the race. Get there early and be prepared to stay late if you want to watch the whole race, especially on Sunday. There is a 2-lane road connecting the track to Route 80. It gets backed up very quickly. This ain't no Daytona. Get an infield pass and a grandstand ticket. It'll be worth the price. Gives you the chance to see the pits, the drivers up close, plus see the whole track during the race. Here are my recommendations for food and drinks locally. Breakfast, Terracotta and Piggies are can't misses. Dinner, Nick's Lake House and Boulder View are good sit-down options. Plus, Dominic's Pizza is a very family-friendly option with an arcade and good prices. Happy hour and drinks, Split Rock Tiki Bar, Boulder View, and Nick's all have full-service bars. And can't forget about the always trusty Shenanigans. Dessert, Piggy's Ice Cream. Now for Fast Davies bets. Truck Series, Chandler Smith is plus 1,200 to win this race. He won it back in 2022. Yes, Corey Heim is the favorite, but putting a few bucks on Chandler is a good option. Xfinity, Sheldon Creed is plus 220 for a top 3 finish. Think that's a good one. Cup Series, Ross Chastain is plus 550 for a top 3. Put some money on that. That could pay out. Now for trivia answer time. This week's question is, who won at Autódromo Hermanos Rodríguez the first time NASCAR went there in 2005 for an Xfinity race? The answer is Martin Truex Jr. won the first time NASCAR went to Mexico City in 2005. Now for our predictions for Pocono and Elko. Arca at Elko. Give me Max Reeves in that Joe Gibbs car. Think he's going to be too quick. Truck Series, Heim, Time, Pocono domination is what I'm thinking again. Give me Corey Heim to go to victory lane on back-to-back years at the Tricky Triangle. Xfinity, I've picked him to get his first Xfinity win before, but give me Sheldon Creed to win Saturday. Think the 00 will be fast at Pocono. Cup Series, thinking about Denny getting his 8th career Cup Series win at Pocono. Definitely an option, but give me the 5 of Kyle Larson come Sunday. As always, we're sponsored by Magical Travel with Dave, aka Disney Dave Weichert, my father. He'll be able to help you with all your Disney and Universal vacation needs. If you're from New Jersey and planning on going during Teachers Convention this year, please reach out to my dad immediately. He can be reached at DisneyDaveW@Verizon.net. Please make sure you follow all the Splash of Gas social medias for midweek and on-track updates. Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube are all Splash of Gas with Dave Weichert. As I mentioned, Splash of Gas will be in Pocono for the entire weekend from Friday morning to Monday morning. Can't wait to wake up at the crack of dawn on Friday and drive out to the Pocono Mountains. Till next time, everybody, Splash of Gas out.